Every generation has a film that redefines what great means. Some break the rules, others write new ones, but only a few manage to stand the test of time. Films so iconic that decades later we still quote them, study them, and feel them. These aren't just movies, they're moments burned into the collective memory of cinema. So grab your popcorn and dim the lights, because today we're counting down the top 10 greatest movies of all time. And let's start with one that made everyone question reality, morality, and the line between hero and villain. Number 10, The Dark Knight, 2008. When Christopher Nolan released The Dark Knight, it wasn't just another superhero movie, it was a crime epic wearing a cape. Heath Ledger's Joker didn't just steal scenes, he stole the movie. Chaotic, brilliant, and terrifyingly unpredictable, his performance became the gold standard for modern villains. The film explored Gotham like a living organism, corrupt, tense, and teetering on collapse, while Christian Bale's Batman faced not just enemies, but moral collapse. It was dark, intense, and revolutionary for comic book storytelling. The Dark Knight didn't just entertain, it proved that superhero films could carry philosophical weight. And while Gotham burned on screen, another story from years before showed the human spirit doing the opposite, rising from the ashes of despair. Number 9, The Shawshank Redemption. Hope. That's the word that defines The Shawshank Redemption. A banker falsely imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit finds freedom not through escape at first, but through patience, grit, and friendship. Andy Dufresne, played by Tim Robbins, and Red, played by Morgan Freeman, gave us one of the greatest on-screen friendships ever filmed. The movie didn't make waves when it first hit theaters, but slowly, word of mouth turned it into a phenomenon. Today, it's often ranked the greatest movie ever made, because it reminds us that even when life locks you in a cage, the mind can still soar. But where Shawshank whispers, our next film shouts, a kaleidoscope of color, wonder, and flying houses. Number 8, The Wizard of Oz. Somewhere over the rainbow. And you can already hear it, can't you? In 1939, audiences walked into theaters in black and white and walked out in Technicolor. The Wizard of Oz wasn't just a movie, it was a revelation. Judy Garland's journey as Dorothy from Kansas to the magical land of Oz taught generations about courage, friendship, and home. With timeless songs, unforgettable characters, and practical effects that still charm today, The Wizard of Oz became the definition of movie magic. And though the story seems simple, its themes, longing, bravery, and belonging, keep it forever fresh. But the fantasy of Oz wouldn't exist without the emotional weight of real human stories, stories of love, loss, and survival. Number 7, Gone with the Wind. Released the same year as The Wizard of Oz, this film painted a very different picture of America. Gone with the Wind swept audiences off their feet and through the chaos of the Civil War with its grandeur, scale, and ambition. Vivian Lee's Scarlett O'Hara wasn't your typical heroine. She was flawed, manipulative, and fiercely determined to survive no matter the cost. The film shattered box office records and won more Academy Awards than any before it. But beyond its technical brilliance, it captured the complex emotions of love and loss in a world falling apart. And speaking of worlds on the edge, our next pick dropped audiences straight into the jungle, where the madness of war met the darkness of the soul. Number 6, Apocalypse Now, 1979. The smell of napalm in the morning. You can almost feel the humidity, the tension, the chaos. Francis Coppola Cotta's Apocalypse Now isn't just about the Vietnam War, it's about the human mind unraveling under its weight. Following Captain Willard's mission to find and eliminate Colonel Kurtz, the movie plunges deeper into a surreal nightmare the further they travel upriver. With performances by Martin Sheen, Robert Duvall, and Marlon Brando, Apocalypse Now captures both the insanity and the seduction of war. It's a descent, not just into battle, but into the darkest corners of humanity. And while Coppola explored the jungle, another filmmaker turned his camera to the stars and found an entire galaxy waiting.
Number 5. Star Wars, Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, 1980. If A New Hope was the fairy tale, The Empire Strikes Back was the reckoning. George Lucas handed the director's chair to Irvin Kershner, and the result was darker, deeper, and far more emotional. Luke Skywalker faced not just the Empire, but the truth of his own identity. Han and Leia gave us the galaxy's most charming love story, and Darth Vader, well, you already know the line. The Empire Strikes Back proved that sequels could be more than rehashes. They could expand worlds, deepen characters, and redefine storytelling. But not all twists in cinema came from outer space. Some came from a quiet motel in the middle of nowhere. Number 4. Psycho, 1960. Before Psycho, audiences thought they were safe in movie theaters. After Psycho, no one ever looked at showers the same way again. Alfred Hitchcock's thriller broke every rule. He spoiled his own story halfway through by removing the supposed main character in one shocking scene. Then, he twisted the knife with one of the most iconic reveals in cinema history. Anthony Perkins' Norman Bates was polite, awkward, and terrifying. His story blurred the line between innocence and madness, and Hitchcock's direction, with sharp cuts, eerie music, and suspense that builds like a heartbeat, rewrote the language of thrillers forever. But from psychological horror to pop culture chaos, the next film took cinema, mixed it with mayhem, and turned it into something entirely new. Number 3. Pulp Fiction, 1994. Non-linear storytelling, pop culture dialogue, suit-clad hitmen debating cheeseburgers. When Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction hit the screen, it didn't just grab attention, it changed it. Each storyline, from Vincent Vega and Jules to Butch the Boxer, collided in a way that felt both random and fated. Every scene, no matter how absurd, oozed style. The film wasn't afraid to laugh at violence, to philosophize about nothing, or to make bad people strangely likable. With a killer soundtrack and endless quotable lines, Pulp Fiction turned coolness itself into an art form. And yet, decades before Tarantino's sharp tongue, another director told a story of power, greed, and loss that still feels hauntingly modern. Number 2. Citizen Kane, 1941. Rosebud, one word that launched 1,000 film theories. At just 25 years old, Orson Welles created Citizen Kane, a film so ahead of its time that critics are still catching up. Using flashbacks, deep focus shots, and innovative camera angles, Welles told the story of Charles Foster Kane, a man who had everything but peace. The film redefined what cinema could do, breaking the rules of narrative, lighting, and sound. But more than its technique, it's the emotion that stays. Beneath the empire, Kane was just a lonely man trying to reclaim something lost long ago. And speaking of empires, our number 1 movie didn't just depict one, it built its own. Number 1, The Godfather, 1972. The sound of a door closing, the subtle shift of power, the quiet transformation of Michael Corleone. The Godfather isn't just the greatest gangster movie ever made. It's one of the greatest stories, period. Francis Coppola Foras turned Mario Puzo's novel into an operatic saga about family, loyalty, and corruption. Marlon Brando's Don Vito Corleone is calm, commanding, and terrifyingly human. Al Pacino's Michael begins as an outsider, but slowly, almost tragically, becomes the very thing he swore he wouldn't. The film's pacing is patient, its violence deliberate, its emotions Shakespearean. Every frame, every note, every whisper feels like destiny. The Godfather didn't just influence movies, it reshaped storytelling. And for 50 years, no one has come close to dethroning it. From flying houses to prison walls, from outer space to the streets of Gotham, these 10 films each captured something bigger than a story. They captured humanity itself. Each one rewrote the rules of what cinema could do and what audiences could feel. They made us laugh, cry, question, and dream. And that's the thing about great movies. They don't fade when the credits roll. They live on, scene by scene, generation after generation. Because true cinema, it never ends.